Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Meta Game Show Host. That's Meta, M-E-T-A, not M-E-E-T space A.
But I feel like at some point, though, right, it's possible that we will get a game show host on, and then we will all have met a game show host.
If we could meet a game show host on Meta Game Show Host, that seems like that would be pretty meta.
Meta game show host.
Meta game show host.
Meta.
Can we take a second to pause to reflect on the game show host we won't get a chance to meet and rip Alex Trebek?
Yeah. I heard that he was doing poorly in January, and he held out so long. You know, he was filming all the way up to like 3 weeks before he died.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it. The man is a trooper.
One of the best cameos on Drag Race.
Oh yeah, largely, easily one of the best. That's, I believe, why he's famous.
100% why he's famous.
However, we're not covering Jeopardy today. Today we are covering the childhood classic, Legends of the Hidden Temple.
I'm presuming we're talking about the 2016 television movie, yes.
No, we're talking about the 90-something TV show.
We're not talking about the failed attempt to reboot it with adults set in an actual jungle that was going to air on Quibi.
And no, we're also not talking about that one either.
So I was watching an episode for research, and because I remember you mentioned that the reboot was going to be with adults, which is crazy until you think so. Like little Sally Johnson, right? From season whatever of the original '90s show, she would be 40 today.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like to think about this.
Well,
before we get too deep into this, I'm Ricky, your host as always. But who do I have with me today? Y'all want to introduce yourselves real quick?
Well, my recording file is called Daddy Olmec, but you can call me Ian.
Ian. And who else do we have joining us today?
Hey, I'm actual real true guest here, Ruckman.
Oh, wow. Actually, everybody's a true guest here. This is my show. I'm Andy Milanakis.
Sure, but I'm not actual Door Monster, so
you're not.
No, well, now you are now officially Door Monster adjacent.
Ooh, cool. Can I put that on my resume?
Yep.
Good.
Before you were just in Door Monster proximity, but now we let you stand next to us in group pictures.
Nice.
Putting that on your resume, though, we'll see a 20% increase of your resume getting thrown into the trash can first.
It's a risk I'm willing to take.
Fair enough.
I just want to say, like, at some point, I want to be like, I don't need to be like crew fourth, but I do want to be mascot of the crew of 3. So if you ever want to hire a mascot, I'm like super available.
Okay, good. I'll keep that in mind.
Thank you.
Sounds good. Are there any crew 4 vehicles? That's a magic thing. Let's get back on topic.
But I was going to say, though, so you were talking about adults. So I think a good example of how the show could have worked is a show that I love to watch. It's actually going to start a season in December, is The Challenge, which is like Survivor crossed with Big Brother, because it used to be like a real world spinoff. So it's like a lot of physical like challenges. Everyone there's like super fit and CrossFit and stuff like that. But there's quizzes. I think that would be a good show to like look at as an example that could have been a Legends of the Hidden Temple type inspiration.
The Challenge, you said? The
Challenge.
Who hosts that?
Why am I? Is it CJ?
It's not. Man. It's not greatest game show host of my childhood, Kirk Fogg.
Kirk Fogg.
And so he is now.
A better fact for you. Olmec, right?
Right.
Of a Daddy Olmec fame, voiced by, he's just credited as D. Baker, but it's D. Bradley Baker, who voices literally every animal you've ever heard in animation, like Appa and Momo from Avatar. Anything. D. Bradley Baker is prolific, but he was also Olmec.
This was like one of his first big roles, though, right?
Yeah, it was.
Like, he also, outside of animals, Number 4 in Codename Kids Next Door, Squilliam and SpongeBob, Johnny Quest and Harvey Birdman, and Dal and Dad on Cow and Chicken.
He was Dad? I didn't know that.
He was Dad.
No one's new. Yeah, guy's a legend. Legendary. Like these. Anyways, give us a breakdown for how this game works, Ricky, because I only watched a couple of episodes of research.
So, this podcast works is we're going to go through each segment of the show, discuss if there's possible tweaks you could make if you were going to be competing on this show, how to maximize your value, and hopefully send us to Space Camp, as is the best prize that this show offers. They offer other prizes, I've been informed. I actually thought, before researching the show a little bit more, that everybody went to Space Camp.
No.
Not everybody gets to go to Space Camp.
Space Camp was only 16 out of all 120 grand prizes.
But, like, that's the best prize, though, right?
No. The best prize is moon shoes. Sometimes moon shoes were even given as a first prize once they got to the ritzy third season. But
the worst prize is the grand prize of going to Busch Gardens.
that was thank you, Clearwater Chamber of Commerce.
The number of prizes in the show is pretty good because it's kids, so we need to not make losers. Legends of the Temple doesn't create a loser mentality, but it does create a lot of losers.
Yeah.
This show is the toughest kids game show I think I've ever gone back and rewatched. Like, it just, that final round, that temple run just churns through the kids. They're just done.
32 completions total in the whole game out of 120.
My theory is, and we'll get to this, I think, as we go stage by stage. My theory is it had the most lenient entry requirements and it had the highest number of children ill-suited for its format.
There's a bunch of, like, the kids are not very evenly matched either. And, like, the age ranges are pretty crazy. Like, there's definitely kids that are, like, 12 and 13, and there's definitely also kids that are, like, 9 and 10. And, like, it really, like, you can tell when you see the teams. So, for those who don't know, let's go through, start at the beginning. You would show up, and you would be assigned a team and a teammate at random. You do not bring your teammate. This is important.
If
you get given one of 6 colors and supporting team, which, though there is data to suggest that getting a purple shirt would doom you to failure, and a green or silver shirt would see you skyrocket to success, that actually has no actual effect. It's just the kids that showed up that day. So while your team color doesn't matter, guys, what's your favorite team and why?
Blue Barracudas.
They always win.
Did you say Blue Barracudas?
Blue Barracudas.
Has anybody ever said Blue Barracudas is their favorite team? I don't.
That's like the perfect alliteration. It's the best alliteration name.
Blue Barracuda, and now we're DCMA struck. But
so I was a Green Monkeys.
Oh, that's one of the best teams.
I was always Green Monkeys as a kid. Their shirt looked the coolest.
I would say so. I have a dichotomy. As a kid, I always rooted for Silver Snakes because I liked winning, and they won. But nowadays, I can't imagine myself as anything except Purple Parrot, because those are, of course, my 2 defining characteristics.
So far, out of our 3 team choices, Ricky's done the best so far as a Green Monkey, having the second most number of gone to temples at 24. Orange Iguanas is number 1 at going 25 times. Silver Snakes at 21. Blue Barracudas was my pick at 19. And then Purple Parrot's going 11 times.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, the actual shirts and stuff like that, like, the Purple Parrot and the Blue Barracuda look like the worst shirts.
I think the Purple Parrot shirt is dope.
I think that, like, and the Red Jaguar shirt is cool. It, like, people would recognize it, right? And the Orange Iguana shirt, while not as, like, that's Legends of the Hidden Temple, it did look cool.
What? I can't believe you're hating on Blue Barracudas.
Dude, the Blue Barracudas is 2 fish.
Whatever.
And they don't even look like temple-esque. They just look like fish. Meanwhile, like, that monkey is like super temple. The treasures that we get are all sorts of treasures. Mostly seem to be like myth more than actual historical legend.
Mm-hmm.
I think
really,
historical legend is like perfectly on the line. Like it's things that people have said have existed somewhere. It's like, but they are all very firmly like, it's basically like anything that could be on Wikipedia but would have a very strong need citations flag on it.
If it could show up on a Topps Allen and Ginter trading card.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. So the treasure is what you want at the end, but how do we get there? We got to start at the moat. After you've been given your teammate and your colorful shirt and your very fashionable helmet.
Which, okay. What do you guys think? What do you like better? Season 1 attire of just the yellow helmet, or season 2 and 3 when we get the gold helmets?
actually like the yellow helmet better.
Okay, what do you do? Go ahead, Ian.
I feel like the yellow helmet matches with the flat colors a bit better.
Mm-hmm. But how do you feel about yellow sweatpants versus jeans?
I've not seen the yellow sweatpants. I gotta look that one up.
Season one, the first two games, right? Steps of Knowledge and the Moat, they're in khaki shorts with their shirts, right?
Yeah.
And then season one for Temple games and the Temple Run, they were in yellow sweatpants. Seasons 2 and 3, they wear jeans instead of the sweatpants.
Oh no, you're right. Yeah, no, I like the yellow sweatpants. Yeah, I think but
jeans probably made it harder.
Right, because we didn't have jeggings yet, right?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, probably, but they weren't popular.
Yeah.
The jeans are another way of holding the kids back.
Exactly, because space camp is expensive, and we can't send everyone.
I just want to point out, looking around on this wiki real fast, if you look up Olmec, it says species, Olmec head, current, human, historic, which is that's pretty culturally sensitive of them, I think.
Well,
so until you get the live action movie where he's murdered by his son and turned into a statue or something like that.
Well, now he has family. He has a good son and an evil son. Wow, there's too much. I didn't do the myth dive beforehand. Oh, I'm going to get us off track. Keep going.
So, of course, we're not talking about competing in this as adults, of course. So how would you train to get through the physical challenges of this? Just before we even get there, we got the moat. The moat is not deep. I was worried as a kid that if I got on the show, I wouldn't know how to swim and I'd drown in the moat.
It's barely waist high water.
It's it's like a foot and a half of water to 2 feet.
This is I want to someday I want to do an American Ninja Warrior or an Ultimate Beastmaster episode of this podcast. But I so that any one of these physical aptitude shows, the answer is always upper body strength.
It's all tree climbing. So, and we'll get more into it into the temple games. But tree climbing is the number one training activity you as a child could do to try to succeed in the beginning part of this show. Everything for the moat is basic balance and arm strength stuff, like climbing cargo nets, pulling a rope to get yourself across, or doing just a rope bridge. There's some weirder ones, where you have to ride an inner tube across and then throw it back to your teammate.
Go to a parking lot, go just balance across the little slab things to stop your car from moving forward.
I think definitely tree climbing helps you here. But the moat, once again, as we said in the Cutthroat Kitchen episode, it's very lenient. You don't have to be good at the moat because 4 of the 6 teams make it past the moat. You just have to not be awful.
That's true. You just gotta not be the weed outs. And yeah, I mean, I think so. The real big mitigating factor at being good at this show, right, is that you have a random partner.
You do have a random partner, but we're going to talk about that because one person can carry most of this show.
Except I feel at the moat, because you gotta have you can get across in 4 seconds, but if your partner takes another 45, you're out.
Right. The moat, I do think, is the biggest, here it is, sink or swim, literally. Right. Is your partner any good at all? But once again, everybody else has a random partner, and you just need yours to be in the top 66%. You just need to not be in the bottom 33%. So
yeah. So go to CrossFit, swing a hammer around, hit some tires.
Another big thing is, and I've seen it a couple times, where especially in the ones where you have to help your partner back across, is do not celebrate when your partner makes it across the moat. You've not run yet. You have to run another 10 feet away to hit that gong.
Actually, I think in general, most of my strategies will probably come down to just stopping.
Right. Don't stop.
Oh my God, especially in the temple. So many kids just stand there.
Well, yeah, we're not even at the temple yet. But just in the moat, it's fun. You've met this new friend. It's all exciting. But, you pull your friend across and then you get them out of the moat and your little spotter man in khakis is like, good job, mate. And
they're canonically all Steve Irwin, I believe.
Right. A lot of them look like him. And then they jump up and down and hug and high five and stuff like that. But you haven't won yet. You got to go hit that gong 10 feet away. and you have to do it together, or at least it looks like you have to do it together because they always hit it together.
Or the other thing is you hate your partner because you've been in like a small arcade with them for 3 hours because you're the last team to shoot.
You just need to hate your partner less than everybody else hates their partner.
Can we talk about that for a second? So that like, because they shot these in like groups of like 6 a day. So
I have a note on this actually.
Okay. Yeah.
It's going to come up a little bit further down.
Okay, sure.
When we get to the temple games.
Okay, cool.
So we will come back to this. I'm going to put a pin in that for right now. But yes, there is a big arcade green room where the kids sit because they film like 6 of these a day and they film it by segment. So all 6 episodes worth of kids film the moat, then all 6 episodes of kids film the steps, and so on and so on.
I think you want to be the first group to film, especially the moat, because then you don't want it smelling like even more like chlorine as the day goes on.
Actually, the further you go on, the more you can kick the fog out. If you're the first team, that's like the freshest fog on that moat, and it's going to obscure your view of the raft or whatever you have to get on. So we've gotten through the moat. That was easy. Next is the steps of knowledge.
All right, so the steps of knowledge are great. This is the only part of the game that's like this. It's completely separate from like every other challenge. And it's great because it means you can't just rely on having gone to baseball camp for 2 summers.
So one thing so I was looking at the audition process. Part of the audition process is they take a history test, and I want to know what the history test was like. Was it just like general, like, I'm assuming it was just like standardized elementary test, like 20 questions, how do you do type of deal, right? Because some of the questions that they ask, especially as they get later on in the segment, are more generalized, related to the story as opposed to being about the story. So
you like, the process is, right, just like as a summary, you get like, Olmec tells a story about the artifact. And then you're on the steps of knowledge, and you got to buzz in with your feet. You got to, answer 3 questions, right?
Yep.
Yes.
However, it is known that the story Olmec tells on screen is not the story that the kids hear.
Really?
They're given a more detailed explanation of the legend off camera, which is why some of the questions asked, like, the kids know really fast, even though you're like, why would the kid know that? That's not part of the story.
Right. But eventually, after the questions start running long, like, I presume that, I don't know, they probably prepared, 15, 20 questions, just in case, what's the maximum, okay, quick maths. What's the maximum number of questions that it could be asked? Everybody gets 2, right? And it's the first person to get 3 who
10
gets...
total questions.
10 total questions?
The first 2 teams, they get 3 points wins. It means you can give 8 points out.
So, and then the 9th point wins.
And then the 9th and the 10th point win.
Yeah, okay, so 10 questions. But after question 5, they tend towards general history, right?
Right. They stop being about that, and they just become about aviation or just general pirate lore or whatever lore we're going after.
Now this is in my wheelhouse because I have on occasion coached Curtamen, which is Latin Trivia Bowl. And so here's the strategy for the steps of knowledge. Okay, number 1, buzz in. You cannot answer if you do not buzz in. You absolutely must buzz in every question, whether you know it or not. And you want to do it as soon as humanly possible.
Once the question is finished.
Can I caveat that? Yeah. Make sure the question is finished, because if you buzz in, Olmec just stops.
Right. Yes. Well, this is where true trivia power comes in. You got to have the intuition. If you have practiced Quiz Bowl, you will understand what he's asking before he finishes the question. And that's when you get up.
I feel like there's a difference though in this being based off of a story versus general knowledge.
Fair. I think that's fair. Because he gives options.
Well, I was going to say, let him finish the question and then buzz in before the answers are read. But make sure he finishes the question first, because I've seen so many times that the kids are just answer whatever, and he's like, not even close.
Right. No, you definitely have to wait for the question to finish, but do not wait for the answers to be read. Also, get that foot up.
You want your foot as close to the ground as possible.
You need that foot ready to fall on that switch.
This is everybody's always just utterly devastated in Curtamen when they get beat by middle schoolers. Middle schoolers have twitch reflexes, and their thumbs are shorter, which means a smaller amount of leverage needed to push the button because it's already Like it doesn't have to travel as far. You want your foot like. And so any information on what is the weight limit of this button? Surely,
So you see it a lot when you watch the show.
Uh-huh.
But those kids are stomping at that button, and sometimes it doesn't light up.
So to practice for this, what you do is, because I'm assuming this is still in like the 90s, right? I mean, it's gonna be hard to do now. But if we're going back in time, this is when this show is airing. You go find your local arcade, and there's always that game where you had to step on the spiders as they lit up. Just jam that game.
Like,
practice that button stomping.
You gotta like the big thing is like you have to land dead center on that button. It's a big square button. You can see it in the camera and stuff like that, and you can see kids like stomping at it and just missing. Right?
Yeah.
Like you need to be poised. Whoever's going to be answering needs to be poised, or whoever is your button person, they need to be poised and ready to stomp on that button.
Here's a question: do they? It doesn't matter which of you buzzes in, right? Whoever gets to answer.
Right.
So you assign a buttonman.
Right.
And that buttonman just needs to be like boom, 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 and like I don't know. I'm still on, based on my previous quiz experience. I'm still on team. As soon as you have an inkling, buzz in, because even if you get it wrong, you can't like you have to presume that whoever buzzes in is going to know the answer.
Right.
So
you can't get it right if you don't buzz in.
If somebody else buzzes in, you have to presume you've already lost it. So buzz in first, no matter what.
So there's no penalty really for getting it wrong. You don't step back up the stairs.
Public humiliation.
That's true. That's not nothing.
2 wrong answers does reset to the next question.
Right. So the
that means the number of questions is even higher than probably.
Yeah, probably they keep like 12 or 13 just in case. And then the steps of knowledge, pretty easy. You just have to be a little faster on that button, and you get down to 2 teams from there. So we go to 6 to 4 to 2 from the steps of knowledge. Anything else on the steps of knowledge before we move on to the temple games?
Not really. I mean, yeah, I just really pay attention. That's going to come down to how you gotta focus in on what they tell you, right? When they're telling you the grander story, especially.
Here's a question: Does Olmec give the longer story, or is it a producer?
I believe it's a producer or it's a pamphlet or something like that.
Yeah.
It's not done by Olmec. Yeah.
Like because also what's the lowdown on how Olmec's mouth moves? Is that just like do we just got a puppeteer like who just tries to match D-Baker?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, it's just a puppeteer.
Just anyway, off topic. But
you also sorry. Go ahead.
I just say in general, I think this is going to come back in Temple Run and some of it. Like it's just about being able to be in a weird situation and still pay attention and not get overwhelmed.
For sure.
Another thing is the timer to be timed out on a question is 3 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can only and off for so long.
Which is pretty generous by Quiz Bowl standards, actually. So really, like I just think these kids by age 11, you should have already won your first collegiate Quiz Bowl, or else what are you doing here?
Trying to go to space camp, Ian.
Yeah, we're trying to go to space camp. We want to be astronauts. So after the steps of knowledge, you get 2 teams, and it comes down to the temple games.
Usually, the red jaguars, green monkeys, or silver snakes.
Right. Temple games is going to be 3-minute-long mini games. You will play one of them. Your partner will play one of them, and your last one is played together. They are worth half pendant of life for the first 2 and a full pendant of life for the third one. Whoever has the most pendants of life at the end of all 3 games goes to the temple. If it's a tie, you play a tiebreaker question. Do not go to the tiebreaker question.
Now, important to know with the tiebreaker question, season 1, if you got it wrong, the other team just won. Seasons 2 and 3, the other team had a chance to answer it correctly in order to advance.
It's another steps of knowledge question, one of the ones unused, right?
Yeah.
However, it does not award, even in the later seasons it does, but in season 1, it does not award any pendants. So you can get sent to the temple with just 1 pendant of life.
What we'll see is season 1 is way more brutal.
Yeah. But you want to sweep these games. But as long as you win your game, and then you can team up win the second one, or the third one, then you are good. And what do these games test? They test climbing, and they test mobility on your knees.
Right. I think this comes down to essentially, don't be an unathletic kid.
Even if you're unathletic, the things you're going to need to know how to do is crawl in soap, or through tunnels, or climb like very small walls.
So
like,
go to Chuck E. Cheese.
Go to
Chuck E. Cheese and crawl around in the tubes.
And then go to your local rock gym.
Like, some of those are no joke though. Like some of that's like a 10-foot rope. Like, you got some handholds, some footholds and things, but like, I don't know, in general, like I was a little surprised by the amount of upper body strength, all upper body strength. You can being on your knees, sure, but it's really your shoulders that power you along when you're on your knees. You just use knees for stability.
Sure,
you can have
so still the
upper body strength.
There are like a couple of random chance games, and you're hoping not to roll into those. There's a game where there's like 4 holes, and you pick one to put your little stopper in, and then it will randomly spray water out of one of the holes. And whoever guesses the right, it's like in the Nostradamus. Anytime it's about a fortune teller or a wizard, this is a game that they play, and it is absolute garbage. If that's your game, I'm sorry.
Reroll, right?
You gotta roll with those punches, but there's nothing you can do. But usually the games,
do you both get to pick from the same 4 holes? Do you each have your own set of 4 holes?
You each have your own set of 4 holes.
So okay, well then in that case, it's just blind luck. Yeah, there's no picking first strategy. It's just right. Hope your opponent is less blessed.
However, the most popular games that I always see is there's always the game where you have to crawl through a tube that goes up and down. And back and forth. You're carrying something to the other side and then coming back through, right? And the game where you are in a little, it looks like a little glass box. And there's, stuff in the bottom. There's a bunch of, grass and stuff or whatever the, soft stuff is. And there's, some item you have to dig out of the bottom and then climb it to the top and throw it out.
Right.
That is another very popular game.
I feel like the one I remember seeing a lot was the one that had the trap doors that you crawled under.
The trapdoor?
Nah, I forget what it was, but it was think about there's a platform above you, right? That was divided up into 9 sections or something like that, and you would have to crawl underneath it, and you pop up a trap door and look at what's in the thing. And I don't know. I remember
seeing that one too. That one was definitely more of a random chance game in my opinion.
But it was random chance mixed with crawl your ass off.
Right. The big point is you are either going to be told you're not allowed to stand up, or you're going to be told that you must climb a wall. So these are the 2 skills that you need to be able to do before you can play the temple games. The third game is always a teamwork exercise. There might be a little bit of upper body strength or something involved, but almost always it is a exercise in teamwork.
Right. This is where maybe it's actually better to go later in the day. You've had more time in that arcade. You get assigned a partner before arcade or after.
So you get assigned before, but the thing is, you get a time in the arcade after every bit. So you get a time in the arcade after the moat and after the steps of knowledge.
Yeah,
and you
just gotta work with your guy.
Working with your teammate. You need to be working to coordinate. Make sure your high five is good at the bottom of steps of knowledge. That's a good sign. A lot of the games are both players on a pulley system, and they have to switch who's up and who's down. Or both players on a seesaw. The spinning seesaw is always the cool one that everybody sees. Mm-hmm. There's also the one where you're both on opposite sides of a rock wall, and you have to climb it together. Once again, very, very important to be able to move together. The third game is always a teamwork based game, which you can have an edge on with your upper body strength, but really the team that works together the best is more coordinated is going to be better. So definitely get used to in the arcade with your teammate, being in sync while counting. Make sure you guys count the same number or can shout at each other at the same time to do things.
Go play the X-Men game together.
Right, exactly. The X-Men on the SNES.
Call outs, shotgun and left stairwell, right? You gotta know your map spots.
Exactly.
So
right.
do you think the Outdoors 90 kids have a distinct advantage over, like, if we're sending kids today who are the Fortnite generation? What kids, like, just blind do you think have a better chance of going in here?
Farm kids.
Not like just like way of life. I'm talking like generation wise.
Generation. I mean, well, we have the advantage of information. Like, there's no chance you get accepted to this show nowadays, and you don't just immediately Google the hell out of it, right?
Sure.
I think like we would have by now. We as a society have learned how to communally optimize. But then again, your opponents will too. So I think at this point it's just I feel like nowadays it'd just be more like a they have to like up the difficulty. And it's already such a meat grinder. So nowadays it's just they just have to make like a Souls-born version of this.
All the kids on the show would be D1 athletes, all American, like intellect.
Yeah.
This game, like especially when you get down to like the temple games and stuff like that, like these kids are not good at these games.
They aren't. And that's like I think this is why I'm back to my theory on they just sort of like it's a gin pop acceptance rate. Like where like you look at Guts or like any of those things, like they're looking for like the person who's the fastest 10-year-old at the rock climbing gym. They're looking for people who are suited to the challenge. This is, hey, you on the street. I see that you're 11. Would you like to win some hair gel?
Do you know about Harriet Tubman's walking stick?
So in most game shows, especially, you're told beforehand, especially like in reality shows and stuff like that, you know what's going to happen beforehand. You're given like off camera, like thinking time and stuff like that, or you're allowed to try the game before you play it. These kids have been explained the games, but it's very clear they weren't allowed to sit and play them.
Right.
Especially when we get to the temple run.
Because they say that they tour all the kids that make it to the temple run.
Yeah.
Like, they tour them through the temple and explain every room, but they clearly don't let them do it. I'm pretty sure they just stand outside and point to the rooms and be like, in that room you do this, in that room you do this, right?
Yeah.
Because, like, these kids literally don't know anything, and it's very evident on their face.
You gotta put the snakes all the way into Medusa's head, but they're like still like halfway sticking out type of deal.
Mm-hmm. Like, so I think like when you get to the temple, like so the biggest tip I have for almost every temple room is don't
are we moving to the temple then?
Not yet. We're not yet at the temple yet.
Oh, okay, all right.
I have to bring up something important.
Okay.
Before we get to the temple, we get through the temple games. It's very, very important that you win the third game.
Because that gives you the
full pendant, which means if you won your game and then you win the last one, then you get that's it, you win, right? But if you win both half pendants and then lose the teamwork game, you play the tiebreaker, and you will only have one pendant to go into the temple.
There's no extra half waiting for you to finish.
There's no extra half, and this is so important because in the temple. The mechanics of the temple, there are temple guards, aka 3 rooms, and sometimes 4, I'll get to that in a bit, 3 rooms in which there are very scary men in Mayan makeup ready to jump out of unexpected areas and scare you, and when they do that, you have to give them a pendant of life or you are eliminated.
Or you are dragged into the darkness, never to be
seen again.
You are dropped into the hay pit. Yeah, it's just... No, so they're in my head. These things are like the second most terrifying thing I remember from my childhood after Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Right, exactly.
Large Marge sent you.
That's the one. That's but these guys who are just like towering 9-foot tall manifestations of dark Mayan evil. They just pop out and they just like they have like in my head they've got like 8 arms and they just like and they just swallow you. Like a horrible like flash animation.
So if your first person has one pendant, right?
Mm-hmm.
We'll get back to how scary they are because they are scary. But if the first person always has a full pendant. So the first one they can buy off, and the second one takes them away into the dark.
And season 1, that first pendant was always taken essentially in the first room.
Right, it's a little rigged. And then there's a third one out there. If your second person does not have a full pendant of life and they run into the third temple guard, and let me tell you, the way they set the temple, you probably will, you're done. You lose before the timer's even out.
So let me get an accurate pendant count, right? Let's say you win all the games. You get 1/2 pendant. Your teammate gets 1/2 pendant, and then together you get a whole pendant. So you're going with 2 pendants.
So each player has 1.
But then there are still 3 temple guards, so it's still a numbers game. You could still get triple got.
No, you can't. If you have 2 pendants, because the first person gets 2 lives.
No, it's a triple seizure.
So they take the first person goes in. Your kid won.
Okay.
They run into 1 temple guard. They give up the pendant. They run into the second temple guard. They get taken. The next person goes in. If they hit the third temple guard, they give them another pendant. Now there's no more temple guards, and the kid's left to go.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
So, if you have 2 pendants of life, you cannot lose to the temple guards. You have a much scarier villain, not by much.
The 3-minute timer.
The 3-minute timer. So now we can get into the full temple run. Now that we've explained the pendant of life system, because as a kid I couldn't figure it out for the life of me. And if you only have 1.5 when you make it to the temple, they put the extra half somewhere. Go get it.
So
do they tell you it's just somewhere, right?
No, they literally point to it. They're like the extra half pendant can be found in Galileo's Observatory or wherever they decide to put it. It's normally only a room away.
Before we fully break down like the strategy here, I do want to point out that over the course of the show, there were about 50 different rooms and 15 different layouts overall.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a lot of variation here.
Only one room stays the same the whole time.
The Shrine of the Silver Monkey.
Shrine of the Silver Monkey.
Do we want to start with the Shrine of the Silver Monkey?
Let's start on how the game works to begin with.
Okay.
We'll get room by room strategies afterwards. So, essentially, there is a object. It is called the artifact. Doesn't matter what it is. It could be Harriet Tubman's walking stick. It could be name another bad one. Come on.
The electrified key of Benjamin Franklin.
All right, Ruckman.
What's the mask of the Man in the Iron Mask?
Oh, that's a good one.
The levitating dog leash of Nostradamus.
It could be Magellan's logbooks. Oops.
The much heralded helmet of Sir Gawain.
Or the Trojan horseshoe.
Wait, oh no. This hurts me on a...
I was going to say, does that hurt the most?
That hurts so much. Oh, all right.
Anyways, you need to find this. It's always in it's always in a room of the temple. The temple, for the most part, is 2 floors. Top floor, bottom floor. There's like a main room at the beginning, and then it splits to top and bottom floors, and it goes about 5 to 6 rooms deep.
Yeah.
It's generally about 5 or 4 rooms deep into the temple, and the doors to all the rooms exist. However, the doors can just be locked.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You can just go up. You could be right next to the artifact room, and that door, I tell you, is not going to open. You need to approach the artifact from the other floor.
Almost no.
If the artifact is on the bottom, you are going to want to go to the bottom to try to rush to it, but that will not work. Just stay on the top floor and get it from the other side.
Also,
so, I think this, again, falls that's the strategy I was going to mention before, but like I said, don't not look up. There's many times in the temple runs you'll see children just look side to side, and there's just a gaping hole above them that lets them process.
Go up. Yeah.
So what's great is in one of the season 1 episodes, after a girl gets got by the temple garden, she's just totally just dumbfounded on what to do, and the temple garden leans out of the doorway and is pointing up.
Yeah, I've seen that one actually, where she walks into the room, temple guard, here's the pendant, and then she just starts I don't know where to go.
Right.
Yeah. She must have said it.
Because I think that this is the biggest tip I could tell is back to being able to keep your awareness up in weird situations. Jeff Probe is shouting at you. He really wants you to get to the end. You can tell he's distressed. He's often just shouting answers at you. And if you're just ignoring him, you're in for a bad time.
Did Jeff Probst from Survivor take Kirk Fogg's job?
Just Jeff Probe isn't.
Kirk Fogg is a sweetheart.
I don't know. I paid attention to some of the things he was saying to the kids, and I'm just like, Kirk Fogg is trying to cover up how rigged this game is.
He is like, when you're in the temple, he is desperately trying to guide you through that temple. He wants to see you try.
You gotta go back, go down, go back, go through that door.
He's like, no, that's a locked door. You have to find. He'll explain the mechanics of the room to you. Like shout the mechanics at you.
Maybe she should try the door to the left.
Yeah,
to the left, to her left.
It's so funny, and you can tell these kids have never been in this temple before.
Right.
But the big thing is, first off, if you're in season 1,
so first of all, season 1's really weird too, right? Because you're going to say, go ahead. Let me pick up after you point this out.
Do not enter the Cave of Sighs.
Because like most of the time the Cave of Sighs, so it's weird is season 1, you can go up, but you can also just essentially run straight into the temple, into the Cave of Sighs, which is the bottom route. Whereas seasons 2 and 3, when the Cave of Sighs gets replaced by the ledges, you have to run behind Olmec to get in. And then you can decide to go up or go down. But in season 1, most of the kids would just run down into the Cave of Sighs because it was just right there and open. In fact, one episode, which conveniently did not have a temple guard in there, I was going to call BS on because Kirk Fogg literally goes, and so to get started, you want to run into that room right there. And I'm like, Kirk, if there's a temple guard right now, that's a dick move, bro.
But no, there's you can go in in season 1, you can either go up the stairs behind Olmec to go into the gargoyle room, I think it is, or you can enter the Cave of Sighs. And the Cave of Sighs is this really cramped little thing where you have to crawl up, but like left up and then right up, and then crawl through another tunnel. It's very dark and it's very not evident that like where the door is to get out of it.
And then also a lot of the time had a temple guard.
Had a temple guard in it.
So actually, I'm wondering, like, I was watching it. I was wondering if they didn't do something to the footage, like bump the exposure or something. Like, because I feel like the kids have a much harder time seeing what's going on than we do. And not just because we have a weird bird's eye from the side view, but like a lot of the times it seems to me that it's evident that they are having trouble seeing through darkness.
Well, first off, they've got that big, clunky helmet on their head.
Right.
A mouth guard in their mouth. Some of them have goggles. And there's fog machines and loud noises, and they are probably like trying to see through tears because the temple guard.
Yeah.
By the way, these temple guards in season 1, honestly, still terrifying, not too bad. It's pretty obvious when they're going to come out. You can see them. But like in seasons 2 and 3, absolutely horrifying. There's this one room that shows up every now and then.
Is it the tree?
It's called the Chamber of the Three Armors.
Okay.
Or the Warrior's Chamber, whatever. Either way, there's 3 like suits of armor.
It's where we have to like line up against the wall.
And you have to line up against the suit of armor and you pull the arms down. And one of the 3 is going to open the door. But if there's a temple guard in there, what happens is when you pull the armor thing down, hands come out around you, and the whole compartment starts like swirling backwards, like spinning doors backwards, you into the darkness. As you are taken by some temple guard that was behind there.
The 2 scary temple guard rooms I think of is, I forget the name of it, but it's at the Swamp of Sorrows where they have like the
where
2
they're in
trees.
the packing peanuts.
They're in like the trees, right? And the tree arms just grab you. It's either that one, or it's when they changed the throne room, because the throne room used to just be a static chair, but the throne room in seasons 2 and 3 became a spinning door. And so some of the times the temple guards would be in the throne room, and so the kid would be sitting down the door, the chair would be spinning, and then just the temple guards just there waiting for them.
Oh my gosh!
But like, I remember in the swamp of the swamp of rodents of unusual size or whatever it is, the fire swamp. Yeah. They have like it's just like sitting in the quicksand, the peanut foam or whatever it is. It's like down in the like can you imagine? You know there's temple guards. You see that non-Newtonian surface, and you're like, No, I just wouldn't go in. I would just sit there and just wait.
So there's a great article written up. There's an interview, I think it's on SB Nation, with a competitor that was on an episode of Legend of the Hidden Temple. And she talks about when they're giving her the tour, she specifically asks, could there be one in the peanut foam? And they're like, and she doesn't say how they answer her, but she was like, sure enough, on my run, I run in the room, and what the hell do you think comes out of the peanuts? Just scarred this girl for life.
The forest that you're talking about is a room I like to talk about a lot.
Okay.
Because the dark forest, right, has these two like trees with arms and faces, right?
You have to reach in them and hopefully nothing bites your hand off.
You reach into them to find a key, but one of the two can be, quote, from Olmec, haunted by a ghost of a temple guard, and that does not count against your 3 temple guard limit.
Oh, it doesn't.
It really doesn't. I've watched people with 2 pendants of life lose in that room because if the hands touch you, you can hear Kirk just go like, "Oh no, there's a ghost of a temple guard. You're done."
Interesting. Okay.
In that room, though, there's always a breakaway wall.
Right.
If you never want to try to find the key to go up, just break
take the wall.
Just take the wall.
I think only twice in the entire run of the show was the breakable wall not actually breakable.
So the breakable wall is always breakable. We watched an episode in which the poor child in this temple run kept hitting the wall that was clearly not breakable.
Right, it looks like a Hanna-Barbera cartoon frame.
And
like, you know, the I wonder which suit of armor is going to move in Scooby-Doo. Like it's a it's like a glass, like it's you can see the light streaming through. And this is the room that made me wonder if there was like exposure tricks going on, because like it is nearly glowing and highlighted in our view, and she's just banging on the wall next to it.
It's just not happening for her. And it's like, just bust through the wall. No, the other wall.
But there were, I think, 2 episodes where the air quotes breakable wall, just sort of like how some of the doors just stay locked. Actually, you couldn't break through it.
Well, I have not seen that. That sounds crazy.
I'm trying to find the episode list.
Also, the elevator
takes forever. Don't do it.
The elevator takes forever. If you have to, do it, but like, don't do it. The elevator, you only have 3 minutes, and that's to get in and get out. And if your first teammate hits the temple guards, then you've got to run through their path behind them. So it's a little easier just running through their path, but like once you touch the artifact, all the doors open.
And the guards are gone.
And the temple guards will vanish.
Right.
But you still have to get the treasure out. In season 1, you have to get all the way back through the goalposts. In season 2, you have to get the treasure into Kirk's hand.
Which means running back around behind Olmec.
Down those stairs again.
Yeah.
And then in season 3, you just have to get out of the temple. I mean, which is still running. You have to get past Olmec's little gate thing that he raises and lowers. Which is easier because it's not as far. I've seen people clear from behind Olmec's head, but Kirk is sitting there reaching out as far as he can reach from his little mark, but they just couldn't get it into his hand.
Okay, so I found it. So the 2 episodes where the stone wall connecting the 2 southwesternmost rooms could not be broken were the Keys of Alhambra in episode 8 and the Imperial Purple Robe of Empress Theodora in episode 49.
So 2 out of 100 and something?
Out of 120, yeah.
Break the wall.
Break the walls down.
Break the wall.
It's, except for literally twice, it's never locked, and you don't have to risk reaching into the spooky tree and just getting got.
Especially if the artifact is the Horn of Jericho, which I don't know if that was ever a thing, but like, maybe.
Oh my gosh. This seems too biblical for Nickelodeon, but who knows?
Hey, they got some weird stuff in there.
Let's go room by room now. Any room you want to talk about? We're gonna save the shrine for last.
The one I think about is, what is it? Is it the storeroom where you have to break the pots like Link? What I can never tell is, could you pick the pots up or could you only smash them? Like, were they glued down? Because sometimes like it looked like kids try to pick them up and they're either too heavy or they just couldn't actually move them off the plinths they were on.
So, like, not only do you have to smash those pots, but you have to find a key inside one of them, right?
And then the key goes into the hole under any of the other pots.
Right. I always wondered how they did that without, like, hurting kids. Like, it's clearly, like, some fake glass, right?
Mm-hmm.
But still, that's sharp, and you gotta, like, find the little key thing and shove it in the hole.
And then another thing I want to know is sometimes there's the room with the foam peanuts at the bottom, right? Sometimes there was a rope there, and sometimes there wasn't. So I don't know when they decided rope or no rope.
The foam peanuts room is, like, first off, it's almost always got a temple guard in it because it's so much fun for those temple guard guys to hide down in those foam peanuts and literally scar children for life. Like, if
the ones in the game and the ones at home.
Like, you know, the ball pit at, like, Chuck E. Cheese, and you're just like, you know, nothing bad could happen in the ball pit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everything bad happens in the ball pit.
I can only imagine that bad things happen. Like, I can't imagine not bad things happening in the ball pit. Good things do not happen in ball pits.
I don't know. You play a lot with all the colorful balls. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, there's definitely disease and definitely feces in that ball pit. Every single.
When you go to DashCon, that's all there was to do.
Okay. Yes, the ball pit.
Is it the observatory? So I never understood how the observatory worked.
Yeah, spin the thing. Just shove it as fast as you can.
But there's different patterns on there to open different doors. So was it just arbitrary? Was there someone just like off the screen, just like hitting a button depending on which one they spun around?
So I feel like it's got to be like you just spin it until something opens. Like most rooms, you just hit things until they open.
Sure.
Right.
There's also one room where you have to open up you pull a rope and it drops skulls.
Uh-huh.
And you have to put the skulls on the kings that are sitting in the thrones. Do you remember that room? Have you seen that room?
Yeah. I don't remember that room. Is that a season 3 room? I don't remember that one a lot.
It is. It's like the palace of the two kings or something like that. There's nothing distinctive about the skulls. Just shove it on one of them. And if nothing happens, shove it on the next one. Don't just sit around and like look. People do that all the time. That's
the biggest thing is always move, because I know so many of the kids were just like sort of hem and haw and there's 30 seconds gone.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like the real thing is you just don't stand still. If people just walk.
Also, there's the middle room, the big room. It's always like there's always the first up or down room, and then after that you get into like the big pit.
Yeah,
right.
That's the one where it's like either sometimes there's a rope, sometimes there's not a rope type of deal.
Yeah, sometimes there's a rope, sometimes there's not a rope. Sometimes there's a swing that you have to run into a pillar and knock the pillar over, and that is what opens the door.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's a big hamster wheel and you raise a slab.
The hamster wheel sucks because some of these kids cannot move it.
Also, you can move that hamster, you can move that slab, and the door behind it can still be locked. This room, though, is the most important room because this is the only room where picking, going up or going down, where like that's your decision in the room, right?
Mm-hmm.
If the treasure is down, do
up.
not attempt to go down. That door will be locked. Go up. If the treasure is up, go down.
So one thing I do want to point out, I know this isn't really room specific, but just general tips, since we're talking about doors locking. Be careful when you bump into doors because sometimes they can close again and just lock your partner out. There was an episode where a guy just bumped into the door, relocking it, wasting 30 seconds, and just his team lost because they lost essentially 30 seconds because they couldn't get the door back open, which thankfully the production staff was like, hey, we'll give you the prize if you would have got the artifact, not got out with the artifact, but touched the artifact.
Right.
So they at least did that, but be careful when you're backtracking and going through stuff that you leave the room in a position that your teammate can get back through it.
Never backtrack.
Sometimes you have to, depending on locked door situations.
You can sometimes you have to go up or down, but always left, never to the right unless you have the artifact or you're past it, right?
Yeah.
It's important to know how many rooms, because once you do get into the back half of the temple where it's split up and down, it is the same number of rooms on top of each other. So if there is 6 rooms on top, there's 6 rooms on the bottom. And so you need to count like room 1, room 2, room 3. You need to know what room the temple is in, or the treasure is in. So that way you know when you get past it to go up or down. Because you're not going to be able to brute force straight to the treasure. You need to go over it or under it to come back around and get it.
So we also mentioned there's always going to be that half pendant hanging there if you're eligible for it.
Right.
Make sure that you're either paying attention when Kirk points it out, or when you're in a room and you're just sort of like looking at, like you take that quick scan as soon as you run into the room to sort of look around and figure out like, okay, it's this puzzle, I need to do this type of thing, right? Look at every door activation button, because that's where it's usually hanging on. If it's not in the monkey room, because then it's usually on the pedestal of the monkey. But usually it is hanging on the buttons to open the various doors.
Exactly. Make sure also, as you see this actually a lot, good teamwork from kids. But if they have a teammate that has the half pendant, when they pass the other half pendant, they point at it and they scream back at the teammate. And they're like, hey, get this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do this. You want to make sure if you're going second, then you need to know where that is. And if you're going first, you need your teammate to know where it is. Like, optimally, we'd have both pendants already, but ish happens, Soap is slippery. Sometimes, you get an airplane stuck to your helmet. Life's hard. So help out your teammate to get the other half a pendant because it's necessary. You will hit all 3 temple guards. It is so rare that somebody doesn't get all 3 temple guards.
Especially because in those like, so we were saying there's like 5 or 6 rooms wide, right? Usually in those middle 2 rooms, there's usually 2 temple guards, like minesweepered. You're at the corner, right? There's 3 different rooms you could go to. You're going to hit a 2. Usually 2 of those rooms, one after another, I feel like more often than not will have like a second temple guard right after one.
Right. I also feel like not the room before the treasure, but the room before that is almost always temple guarded.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit of a little troll toll for you, So make sure you are like the second pendant is so important to get past the temple guards because they're gonna be there. They're designed to beat you.
Yeah. All right. Is it time for Silver Monkey?
Ian, are you ready to discuss the Silver Monkey?
I'm looking through various rooms. The only other one I want to point out is what is it here? The room of harmonic convergence.
It does nothing.
It does. So what is you know what? No. What is harmonic convergence? Oh, geez. The phrase is tickling my brain. It's not. So I first thought it was the thing that caused the problem in Half-Life. But that's a resonance cascade. What is a harmonic convergence? What?
I don't know.
That's just like that's like glass shattering, right? Where you hit a harmony that something vibrates at.
Maybe so. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know.
Sometimes they call that room the heart room.
Yeah, that's what I more know it as. Is the heart room.
It has the most doors. It has, I think, 5 doors because it's the observatory's above it.
Yeah, it's usually the bottom middle room.
So it has the most doors, and sometimes there's no challenge there. It's just press buttons till you find a door that opens. Sometimes they put sometimes they put stuff there you have to do, like you have to pull the panels away until you find 2 matching lights. That happens sometimes. That's probably Harmonic Convergence one.
Yeah, it says that there's a couple different versions of this room, yeah.
But normally it's the heart room, and it's sort of like the free square in Bingo.
Nice.
Or they hide a temple card in it.
Ah.
Because it's like the center square in Tic-Tac-Toe. The kid's going to end up there. Might as well snag them while they're there. All right. So the infamous Shrine of the Silver Monkey.
Which, again, when you were saying Kirk is helping the kids, there is one episode I was watching where Kirk just goes, everybody knows how to put the monkey on. They don't.
They really don't. First off,
the monkey faces the audience.
The monkey faces the audience. That's exactly what I was going to say. Rule 1, monkey faces the audience. So many people build it backwards.
And it's weird, too, because the way the tail is, there's clearly an indent facing them for the tail to fit in, because the tail doesn't fit in backwards.
Right. It will not be stable backwards.
Mm-hmm.
Next, the
body.
middle piece. The middle piece.
Because sometimes people just try to put the head on.
Sometimes people try to put the head on and they just leave the middle piece on the shelf. Also, I know some of the kids are small, but like 2 pieces off the shelf at least.
Mm-hmm.
You need to get all 3 pieces in your hands before you walk over to assemble it. But 2 pieces at least. The body, you want it to look like a V when you're putting it on. It looks like a V because it has the little hole for the head to fit in later.
Mm-hmm.
If you have it looking like a upside down V, then it is on upside down.
Well, because also the hands point up on it, and I think it has a belly button or something like that as well. So again, it faces the audience. Make sure the belly's pointed away from you.
And then that big old head with the big stick on it. You need to not only put that in, but you need to press it down because that stick hitting the button at the bottom is what opens the door.
Similar to, again, the Medusa head where you had to put the 5 snakes in the hair, but you have to make sure they're in all the way or the eyes won't light up.
This monkey has ended so many temple runs. People just do not know. I've seen people waste entire minutes, and I've seen in one case, I think 2 cases, the entire run ends here because the person drops a piece over the edge of the temple.
Right. So, okay, so that happened twice. The episode 22 of season 2, The Jeweled Necklace of Montezuma, the contestant dropped the middle part over the railing and onto the studio floor, but a temple spirit threw it back up to them. The second time it happened, time runs out as they drop it, so it didn't matter anyway.
Right.
Sounds like they had offended the temple spirits there.
Yeah.
My favorite thing about this room is looking at the objective completion numbers. Like, so it's on every season. Everybody's like, it is like the room, right? So like people have got past this room 65 times. That counts 20 times in season 1, 22 times in season 2, 22 times in season 3, and once in the television movie.
Good to know the movie
once
counts.
In the television movie.
The movie is canon. The movie is canonically real life, is what I'm getting.
Also, fun fact, if you are a green monkey and you enter this room, Kirk is obligated to make a joke about the green monkeys in the Shrine of the Silver Monkey. What he says further than that depends on how well you do. If you do really well, he's like, well, the green monkey's no monkeys, so the Shrine of the Silver Monkey is no problem. And if you do badly, it's like, you are a green monkey, you should know this. Always makes a joke about the green monkeys in the Shrine of the Silver Monkey. So once you grab the artifact, everything opens, and you just book it. Do not get lost. There is no lost. There is only the right. Run right. As far as you can.
I think I want to stress here, depending on the layout, try to take the upper path versus the bottom path, because the bottom path involves more crawling usually.
Right. Well, this is where you get through the Cave of Sighs, right?
The ledges as well.
The number of times I've seen people get the artifact and then like run up into the observatory and then back down into the heart room and then like look confused. Don't. Once you have the artifact, there's no more up, there's no more down, there is only right. Get out of there. Anyways. And then, of course, if it's season 1, you need to make it back to the goalposts. In season 2, you need to put that stupid artifact in Kirk's hands. Also, don't drop the artifact. I have seen 2 runs ended in a failure because the person drops the artifact while running back and has to turn around and grab it.
Also, don't drop your pendant.
Could you... I thought it was like attached to your wrist.
Nope. Season 3, episode 3. The War Fan of the 47 Ronin. The door from the pit of the pendulum to the tomb of the headless horseman. Oh, sorry, that's the wrong thing. It's the episode 3, season 3, episode 30. Mummified hand of the Egyptian king. The contestant lost their pendant in the pit of the pendulum room, and then their second partner just totally didn't think about grabbing it. And so when the Temple Garden found them, they didn't have the pendant to give them. So I think it's the room where, again, you drop down into the balls of the foam, and it must have popped off the wrist.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Also, when you lose, make your loss funny. Take things out of the temple. The number of times I've seen people lose and they're like carrying something stupid from the temple, like the key from the observatory.
Uh-huh.
Dude, some people, like, they do the observatory and they just take the key with them.
Hey, man, you never know, right?
The one we watched, the girl took the key from the Tomb of the Kings or whatever, the key that you need to get out of that room. She just kept it with her, and she hands it to Kirk at the end, like with a like, "Did I win? Is this the artifact?" look in her face.
Or
What did you give me for this?
In season 1, a kid got so scared by a temple garden, a temple guard, he just ran into the studio out of the temple.
Yep.
Wow. I've also been scared by Temple Garden.
Do you think the kids hear that noise too, like the audio cue?
I'm assuming it's pretty loud, so probably.
I don't know. It seems like they barely hear Kirk Fogg. So, like, does it play for them? Maybe. Do they hear it? No, their minds are just terror.
There's too much loud temple music going on.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, that noise haunted my childhood. Like, the temple guards are terrifying at the end of the day. So, like, even if you lose in the temple games or in the Steps of Knowledge, or heck, maybe you didn't even make it over the moat, the real prize is you get to keep the shoes, the shorts, and the t-shirt.
Heck yeah.
And you might get some melody pops, maybe some nerds, some Hershey's syrup.
Some sun-kissed tuna.
Some sun-kissed tuna. A star-kissed tuna. And
sun-kissed tuna is sounds like a dish from hell.
Yeah. And you didn't get terrified and scarred for life from the temple guards.
Really, I think you want to go out at either the temple games or the Steps of Knowledge. Like, I'm looking here, and one game in the temple here it is, Steps of Knowledge Season 2. You got a $50 savings bond for Star Wars: A Droid's Tale.
Ooh.
Wow.
I've seen like you get a Mighty Ducks the first movie first face off from VHS.
Is it the Mighty Ducks cartoon show or the live action
cartoon
movie?
show?
Heck yeah.
Or Pocky and Rocky for SNES and a Duncan Yo-Yo.
Oh, which one?
It just says Duncan Yo-Yo.
Yeah.
Oh my god, because I mean butterflies were hot.
Anyways, so now we get to the point, we've got all this knowledge, we've got all these tips. You know, you gotta run for the gong, you gotta work on that upper body strength. You can't answer the question if you don't buzz in. Don't fuck up the Shrine of the Silver Monkey.
And don't stop running.
Don't stop running. Do not stop running at all. Always left and then always right. So, with all this information, do you think you could win Legends of the Hidden Temple?
No, this game is so stacked against you.
I'm gonna say because I have to think like we've been doing this whole time. I'm gonna think like a 9-year-old, right?
Right.
And I'm gonna say hell yeah.
I think
9-year-old me would have been like, absolutely, of course I could.
I could not win this game. 11-year-old Ricky, 12-year-old Ricky, super illegally, accidentally 14-year-old Ricky, which happened a couple of times because they would schedule casting months before filming.
Whoops.
So at casting, kids would be like 12 or 13 and like barely make it in the age range.
Kirk, my teammate has a mustache.
And then be like 14 or 15 at the time of filming. And it was just like, well, run it, you know?
He's here.
They're here. Yeah, exactly.
This doesn't break child labor laws, so okay.
Yep. I don't think I could win this game. This game, especially in Season 1, if you're in Season 1, you're so done. It's so unbelievably unfair.
Because at least seasons 2 and 3, you've probably seen the show, so at least you kind of know what to expect.
Right.
One of my questions, though, going back to the Temple Run real quick, is if possible, because I don't think the temple layout would change on the same shooting day. See if you could sneak out and watch, so you know what rooms to prepare for. Oh, see,
they don't
that's when you gotta go. Gotta go to the bathroom, and then
This is even better. This is what your teammate is for. Have your teammate just kick the guy in the shins, right? And you just run. You just get an eyeful. Just go for it.
Look, you go to the bathroom. You jump out the window. Avoid your North Korean minders, and you just make a run for it.
I think that's the best way to escape this show, which, at least if you can get away with some BK Ratch Techs and WWF Royal Rumble for Sega Genesis and SNES.
Ooh, yes.
I'm just saying, like, what is the World Wildlife Foundation doing with rumbling? Like,
dude, Koala versus Stone Cold, who wins?
Yokozuna does.
You know, it's Fishman Karate, right?
Oh, Koala does know Fishman Karate, that's true. One Piece joke.
Look,
Watch One Piece.
Maybe you can get your Magnavox portable CD player.
Like, is the worst prize tuna?
No, the worst prize is definitely Hershey's syrup and chocolate milk mix, because why would you need both of those?
The worst prize is the years of therapy you'll need after the temple guards get you.
Oh my god, the temple guards, man. They've had to stop filming for kids crying from the temple guards. It's real.
Hmm?
I would cry from the temple guards. Especially if I didn't have another thing to give them. The
real strategy is, if the prize is in space camp, just leave, because you don't want to get whatever disease you'll get by going to good Busch Gardens.
I really like this runner-up prize of Merriam-Webster's Collegiate Dictionary. Can you imagine an 11-year-old who wants that?
Yes, and I don't want to.
It was me. It was also just what is fashion bug?
Well, every teammate is a boy and a girl, so there has to be girl prizes.
What is fashion?
Fashion bug is just the clothing line. It looks like
fashion bug.
It's just the clothing line.
Oh, I was really hoping it was like one of those those shitty plastic like a bug shell or something. It was like a hair clip or something. That would have been way cool.
On the one of the episodes. The Moat prize was Return of Jafar on VHS.
Hell yeah!
Everyone lost in that episode.
Oh no! How you will not talk smack about Return of Jafar. It is a great movie, and I'm never watching it again just to prove it.
Also, I bet you BK Ratch Techs are stupid expensive nowadays.
Let's check.
While he's checking, Ruckman, go ahead. Tell them where they can find you on socials and what you do.
Yeah, so you can find me over on another podcast. That's Crew 3 Podcast, where we talk a lot about the pioneer format of Magic the Gathering, occasionally some other stuff. Also co-host by Ricky, and you can find me at our Twitter account that I run at Crew 3 Podcast.
All right, Ian, before you give us the price on Ratch Techs, go ahead, plug your socials.
You can find me on Door Monster, the YouTube channel.
And nothing else, because he won't respond to you on Twitter like a normal person.
I don't twit. I don't social. I would be boring if I did.
And of course, I've been your host, Ricky. I'm going to close the show as soon as we find out a price check on BK Ratch Tech shoes.
I can't even find them on eBay.
Our British Knight Metros, these are going for about $70 C. It looks like a $70 Canadian.
Oh, so basically worthless.
Yeah.
Oh, fair enough.
But you can get but new Crocs unisex classic clog fuchsia pink is populaire and only $20 Canadian. That really seems like the best go.
So really, you're hoping for one of these $50 savings bonds, because how much is that worth right now?
At the end of the day. Yeah, so that seems to be the best prize, other than Space Camp, of course.
Or moon shoes.
Moon shoes also.
I was going to say Moon shoes best shoes. Like, I would trade, if I got BK Ratch Tech, I would trade them for Moon shoes.
In the 90s, BK Ratch Techs were $60, so that's probably like $500 with today's money, right? That's how the 90s worked? All right, guys. Well, it's been great. Thank you for joining us for another wonderful episode of Metagame Show Host. I'm Ricky, your host, as always. You can find us here at Door Monster Podcast. Tell your friends. Have more people listen to this. and also suggest other game shows in the comments below. Thanks for joining us. Say bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye, guys.